Um, um, Asime, please, you can help us post on the group so that others will join in. I don't know why most of them are not responding.
If I live here now, there would be no life.
Okay, Jonathan, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. Our speaker is here already. Welcome, Victoria Shaka. Would commence shortly. I'm waiting for a few others to join in. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to everyone joining in just now. Winnie, I can see you. Benedicta, welcome. Jonathan, welcome. We are already more than 30 minutes behind schedule, but we've kept our speaker waiting for almost 30 minutes, and we're also going to notify him that almost a good number of us are here and we can commence the section and we'll begin the webinar. So I implore everyone to exercise patience and wait and not to leave so that when he comes in, we can just start the session and wasting further time. Okay, in the absence of Esther Okani, who is our moderator for this section, I'm going to commence the section while we wait for her to join in at any point in time. And we'll also have to expect our speaker at any point, our first speaker at any point in time. But we are going to start since our second speaker is here. She's going to start while we wait for the first speaker so that we can achieve something with the little time we have. So welcome everyone. This is a webinar section hosted by River State Cohort 3 SDG Advocates Program. And the theme of this section is Waste to Wealth Solutions for Climate Action. I think on Monday, we celebrated World Environment Day. And if we had been on social media, we would have seen advocacy posts, actions taken by development agents, NGOs, and CSOs. And so far in Nigeria, we have been taking meaningful steps to protect our planet, and it's commendable. Although we cannot achieve our goal with just a few being part of the action process. So this webinar is aimed at ensuring that everyone is knowledgeable about the aim of climate action SDGs Goal 13. So our speakers are going to enlighten us on what we need to know about waste to wealth solutions for climate actions and the proper ways for waste management. So here we have Ms. Chidima Kano Quinet, who is also a member of the cohorts. She has been with us on this journey, and just like everyone here, she has learned a lot, and I know she's a dedicated SDG advocate and a program officer where she works, and she's passionate and a champion of environmental stability with a strong commitment to climate action. So she has made significant contributions to the field of development and environmental conservations. So I would hand over the microphone to Chidima to begin this section with us. While the session is going on, if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat box and would be sure to answer it in due time. So Ms. Chidima, the mic is over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Others can notify as well in the chat box, but I can hear you.
If you can hear me, please notify. Okay, so we're going to start with this session now. I'm going to start by sharing my screen so we can move ahead. We're already behind schedule and it's getting late already. So please, we're going to be really fast with this session, and I hope that God will help us. So today we are talking about climate action. I think everybody is talking about climate action, climate action, climate action. I think it's more like an anthem now. Now we're going to look at solutions to waste to wealth generation or creation. Now, the first, I'm going to speak on the topic best practices for waste reduction and management in different sectors. When we mean different sectors, we're looking at the households, the business centers or businesses, and then industries. Now, before we get into this, please, let's do a little introduction. Can we all hear me, please? I hope I'm not alone here.
Yes, we can.
Hello, are we together? So I'm going to go into the introduction or maybe the objective. Waste reduction and management. What is it all about? What do we, when we say waste reduction and management, what are we trying to say? Now, so that waste reduction and management are critical considerations in our modern society, where the environmental impact of excessive waste generation has become increasingly apparent. Now, it's essential for individuals, businesses, and industries to adopt sustainable practices to minimize waste, conserve resources, and protect the environment. Let me start by sharing my screen. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my screen to work so that we can see what we are saying. So while I still try to get my screen together. Now, the objective of this webinar, now, what are we here? What am I going to say in this session is we are trying to understand the first thing we need to note here is to understand the current state of hello, my network. I don't know. Are we together? I can't really.
We can hear you loud and clear. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, the first objective I'm going to look at is to understand the current state and impact of waste generation and disposal in the world. Where are we now in this world? Now, what is the state of waste generation and disposal in the world? That's the first objective. And the second one is to understand the importance of waste reduction and management. Now, we need to know, why are we even doing this? Why are we doing this? Why do we want to do this? So that's that's one thing we need to know. Why are we doing something? That will guide us to know that really we need to be passionate about this thing we want to do. Now, the third one is to explore the best practices for waste reduction and management in various sectors. When we talk about various sectors, we're looking at how do we fix this? How do we manage waste in our homes, in our businesses, and then in the industries? How can the industries manage waste? Now let's look at the current state of waste generation and disposal in the world. According to the World Bank's report, What a Waste 2.0, that's the name of the report. You can check it up online and probably have a better understanding of what that document is saying. The world generated 2.1 billion tons of municipal solid waste in 2018. That's equivalent to 0.7 kilogram per person per day. That means for each person in a day, the amount of waste generated is approximately 0.7 kilogram. And imagine how many people in the world now generating that amount of waste on a daily. I mean, that report projects that by 2050, the world will generate 3.40 billion tons of municipal solid waste per year. This is equivalent to 1.42 kilogram per person per day. Now, the thing is now, we are all a part of this waste generation, directly or indirectly, in our homes, in our businesses, in our industries. We are all part of this waste generation. Now we're trying to find ways of disposal and management. Now, according to the report again, what is causing this increase in waste generation? Rapid urbanization, population growth and economic development. That's what is pushing this global waste to increase by 70% over the next 30 years. That means it is projected that this waste is going to increase unless we do something about it. That's just it. Unless we do something about it, this waste is definitely going to increase. Now, the report also estimates that 19% of municipal solid waste generated in 2018. This is a 2018 report. So you can imagine what has happened in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, now 2023. So it's estimated that only 19% of municipal solid waste generated in 2018 was recycled globally. Only 19%. You should be asking, what happened to the other waste? If only 19% was only recycled, what happened to the other ones? That's a very serious question we need to ask ourselves. That is the rest was either landfilled, 37% was landfilled according to reports, and then 11% was incinerated, then 5% was composted or dumped. Now that's or maybe 28% was dumped. Now remember that dumping here refers to uncontrolled disposal of waste in open areas or water bodies. So that means this particular one dumping now, there is no management here. It wasn't really managed in any way. So this is the current state of waste generation and disposal in the world, according to World Bank's report, What a Waste 2.0. This is the 2018 report. So you see, this is not something we should be calm about. This is a very serious global issue that calls for serious concern. Now, the report also highlights that poor waste management has significant environmental, social, and economic impacts. Poor waste management, we all know this. So if poor waste management, imagine if all of us are contributing to this, that means even in our homes, we are not even safe. Now, one of the impacts of this poor waste management is environmentally, one of the significant impacts is climate change. I mean, how is it affecting climate change now? By emitting greenhouse gases such as methane and carbon dioxide particularly. It also causes air pollution by releasing toxic substances such as dioxin. Now, it also contaminates soil and water resources by leaching harmful chemicals such as heavy metals and organic pollutants. Now, that is how it's affected. That is the environmental impact of this poor waste management practice. Now, when we look at the health implications, it exposes us to infectious diseases. So many diseases now are as a result of our poor waste management practices. You see, this day you're treating malaria, you're treating typhoid, the next day you're sick. A lot of health issues. Now, these people now, like some people live in very unhygienic places. Now, these people, their human rights is being affected, they are being discriminated. Now, as such groups include women, children, either disabled or poor people who are more vulnerable to the negative effects of this poor waste management. I don't know whether you walked around some places, especially in this Port Harcourt. When you look at some places that people are staying, you know that there is serious health issues with respect to pollution. You begin to imagine, how are these people coping in such places? How are they managing? Because that place alone is a danger zone to their health. Very, very poisonous, and the odor alone, the visual nuisance and everything. So most times The people who are more vulnerable to these situations are children, elderly people, women, men. I think everybody is part of this. Everybody is vulnerable to this issue. Now, another thing this has cost us is society. It has cost society by reducing productivity and income due to illness and injury caused by poor waste management. Now, when you look at in most developed countries, they use most of their, sites, most of their natural ecosystems as tourism sites and activity for tourism activities. But over here, when you look at the rivers we have here, they are little or not, there's nothing to write them about them. They are either polluted in one way or the other. So that means we are even losing economically. We are having economical shortage because of how we are polluting this whole, how pollution is taking because of poor waste management. Now, there's a cost that before you can be able to clean up all these waste we have accumulated over the years, it's going to cost us a lot. The thing is, are we ready? Do we have the financial capacity to do all that? Now, that is the situation report. Now, let's look at the importance of waste reduction and management, the impact of waste reduction and management. Now, this goes beyond environmental concerns. The impact of waste generation and improper disposal extends beyond environmental concerns. This is not only, we're not only looking at the environment. Now, we're not only trying to, save our environment. There are other things. There are other things. There are other usefulness. There are other importance. Now, the first thing is, yes, it's going to minimize environmental pollution. That's the first thing. Now, it will conserve our resources. Now, imagine where our water bodies are being polluted. Our natural water bodies that should serve a lot of purpose. They are now more like a refuse dump. People do a lot of things at the water banks and all that. But imagine if we conserve all these resources. Now, this particular waste management and reduction can also create economic opportunities and promote a healthier and more sustainable future for generations to come. So these are the importance of waste reduction and management. Now, if maybe we just decide to, let's keep polluting the environment, there will be a time when we will not be able to stay because there's a limit to what the earth is required to give. Now, when it is not being maintained, what will happen to the future generations to come? So that's what we need. That's why it's important that we adopt very adequate waste reduction and management policy, even in our homes. This is not just maybe you come outside and you see, even in our homes, we have a part to play in that. Now, let's look at how we can reduce waste and manage waste in our households. Now, in our homes, now we generate so many kinds of waste, a lot of waste, from food waste to packaging waste to electronic waste and textile waste. So many of us, like for instance, now when you come to the house now, there are some homes that the amount of food waste they generate is enough to feed another family. You understand? So another thing is packaging waste. I think that one is another thing. This packaging waste should be a topic on its own. Everything about packaging is more like a waste because we don't have the culture of recycling, reusing, and upcycling. We don't have such culture, especially in this part of the world. So it's important to note that not as but we can manage it. Now let's look at, can you all hear me? I don't know. Can you all hear me? If you can hear me, please say you can hear me. I don't know.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Now, what are the possible ways or simple and effective practices that we can reduce waste generation in the household? Now, remember, we are looking at 3 sectors: the household, the business, and and then the industry. Now, the first thing we need to do is to reduce. We need to be mindful of what we purchase and consume. We need to try to minimize waste generation. If you know you are going to buy something that's, for instance, we most of the things we don't recycle. Most times we don't. Especially when it comes to household waste, we don't dispose them the same way they came. Now, what you should do is maybe you mindful of what you purchase and consume. If you're purchasing something that does not really require you to get a packaging, why not leave the package? It's important we become conscious of these things, because now you buy like 10 things, for example, you're taking to the house, all of them will come with 10 different packages. Now you do not have plan to recycle, you do not have any plan to, or upcycle that waste. You're already generating waste. So it's important you know what to purchase and also what to consume. The another thing is reuse. Let us embrace the concept of reuse by utilizing durable, reusable items instead of single-use products. Now, when we talk about reuse, sometimes I know we love luxury a lot. Everybody, we enjoy it, but sometimes it be bit to trying to acquire new things when you can always reuse what you already have. We tend to generate waste. So it's important we embrace the concept of reusing maybe products or things around the house that these things are still good. You can always reuse it instead of getting new ones. Now, the more you add to these things, the more you get new ones. That's the more you keep multiplying with. The thing is, since we are not recycling in the house, the truth is most of us in the house, in our household, we don't really recycle. These things come in as waste and they also go out as waste. So that is the thing. If maybe you do not have such plans to recycle, and maybe you're not thinking in that direction, you can always reduce things over and over again. There's no rule that says you shouldn't reduce things in your house. Now, this next method is recycle. I call it the 3R. You reduce, you reuse, and you recycle. Now, properly segregate recyclables and ensure they are sent to recycling facilities. I don't know if I know most companies now are into this recycling, and it's quite a good development. So it's important you figure out where they are. Most times they don't need to come. You don't need. I know we always expect them to come to us, but in a bit to also help us reduce waste. We can always meet them. Sometimes you even generate money by sending this to those people. They now give you money in exchange. That's another economic opportunity. So instead of coming to pack these things, we can always recycle them. These companies that recycle them, they use them to do other things. But now we tend to keep them in the house and probably dispose them as waste. No, I think we need to be conscious of these recycling facilities around us, around the cities. Just maybe once in a month, you take your stuff there and give it to them. Another thing is composting is an effective way to reduce food waste, particularly. Yes, all those things that are biodegradable. Composting is an effective way to reduce food waste and create nutrient rich for gardening. Then proper disposal. Dispose of hazardous waste appropriately to prevent harm to environment and human health. Now, another serious thing is dispose of hazardous waste. I know that we have this general culture of throwing our waste in maybe general dustbins, maybe at the park or incinerators. But sometimes most of the things we throw in there are not really appropriate. Those things are not really meant for such places. So it's important to discover if that thing is hazardous. What do we mean when something is hazardous? It means it's really harmful to human health, it's harmful to the environment. You can always find appropriate methods to dispose them. Not always will be disposed in the same manner. They will not always go into the same plant. So that's that. Now let's look at waste reduction and management in businesses. I'm sorry, I'm trying to share my screen, but it's like my network is not moving in that. But let's not keep waiting. I'm almost done. Now, waste reduction and management in businesses. Businesses also play a vital role in waste reduction and management. Now, they have the opportunity to implement impactful practices throughout the operation. Now, here are some key strategies to waste reduction and management in businesses. The first thing we need to do as businesses, as people who run As people who run one business or the other, most of us have. Now, the thing, do you conduct regular waste audits to identify waste sources and areas of improvement? Waste audits, you just know, okay, why are we having this amount of waste? Where is it coming from? Now, how do we improve on it? That is waste audit. Now, until we begin to look into these little things, these things are not little, they're not so little, but if you watch in a day, you think you don't generate much. Just keep that waste in a month and see how much you generate. So it's very important we conduct regular waste audits to identify waste sources and areas for improvement. Now, that's the first thing we need to do in our businesses for us to reduce waste and manage waste. Now, you also have to encourage your employees or your colleagues to actively participate in waste management initiatives through trainings, awareness programs, and rewards. The truth is, knowledge is power. Most people do not understand the implications of this we're talking about. Now, until they are aware, until they know, they might not be able to take action. So it's important that each business should have what we call something like a waste management training, or maybe awareness program or reward, so that it brings a kind of consciousness when someone is knowledgeable, when someone is aware of something. So you have to engage people around you, your colleagues, or maybe you are a boss, you engage your workers in, encourage them to be part of any waste management initiative. That way they stay abreast with the latest trends in waste management. Now it's not bad when you reward them for maybe trying to put things together in the workplace or around. Now, another way we need to do this, reduce waste management in our businesses. The third way is innovative solutions. Now, we need to embrace technology. There are lots of recycling technologies and waste to energy solutions. I know some businesses that do not really use they use their waste to power their their plants, their office generators and all that. So you see, they have been able to convert their waste now to wealth. So all the time we are complaining about fuel and all that, they're not part of it. See, because they have been able to use their waste to generate energy for their activity. Now that's another thing. We need to be innovative in our way. We need to have innovative methods of doing things now. Now we need to implement a waste reduction policy now by setting goals and targets. Now, a waste reduction policy is like a document that outlines the vision, the missions, the strategies and actions for reducing the waste generation of a business. Now, for every business person, I think it's very important you have a waste reduction policy. Now, this policy is like a guide, a document that will outline the objectives, the strategies and actions for reducing the waste generation of your business. Now, your employees should know about this policy. People you work with, even your processes, should also know about. They should also comply with this waste reduction policy that you're trying to implement. Because now that will be a guide. Okay, well, this is the strategy. This is how we're going to reduce this waste. This is how we're going to. This is the action we are going to take to do this. Now, because that will help us to take record of our day-to-day waste management. So another way we are going to reduce, businesses can reduce waste in their activities is to adopt green procurement practices. You buy products or services with less environmental impact. Now, green procurement is the process of selecting products or services that have lower environmental impact throughout the life cycle, from production to disposal. This is where we are trying to come up as people in this Nigeria. We cannot just be most of the products we use, from their raw material to their finished product, everything produces waste. Now, when we say we're adopting a green procurement practice, it means that as I'm going to purchase the raw material, as I'm going to process it, and it's going to become a finished product for the market, it should have a lower environmental impact, meaning these things shouldn't bring out or maybe produce so much waste. Now, even if it does, I should be able to manage it before the end of their life cycle. That waste should not come out to the environment. That's what we mean by adopting green procurement practices. I mean, we need to buy products or services with less environmental impact. Now, the next method is redesigning products or processes to minimize waste or use recycled material. Everything still boils down to recycling. Means we can all add recycling, and I also add transformation. You can always, like, I think when it comes to plastic waste, we can always convert plastic to so many things. In as much as the process is not really a clean one, but it will also help to reduce plastic waste. There are more advanced technologies that are trying to make that more effective. Now, this is not something, I know that these things are looking quite cumbersome, but partnering with local or national organizations or programs to collect or exchange waste is also another way. Now, a business can join a zero waste network, a circular economy initiative, or a waste to energy project. Now, you can partner with local or national organizations or programs to collect or exchange. Now, initially, when these people that normally, I don't know, you see these people that go street scavengers. Yes, when you look at them when they start, you might be thinking maybe they don't know what they are supposed to do. Now, these people make a lot of money with them. Most companies are even are working towards that. Most companies export their waste and then make money. You see that now. So it's very important that you partner with any organization or program to collect or exchanges your waste. Now you can even, like this pure water sachet now, people use it to do so many things now. Now, if you're not aware, you wouldn't know. So it's important partner with these people. That's your own way of reducing your own waste in your business. Now, the next thing is, or the last one I have here, is reporting your waste performance and achievement. Now, businesses can also use online platforms or tools. Now, everything is digitalized now. I can help you measure and monitor your waste reduction and management efforts and outcome. Now, since you have a monitoring, now you can always have an evaluation. You can know, okay, I am not doing well in this particular waste management. This particular product is producing so much waste. Now, you now begin to find ways to reduce the amount of waste it's producing. Now, that is what we call reporting your waste performance and achievement. Now, let's look at another, the last sector here, industries. I think these are the major people that produce a lot of waste, especially in this country. Now, industries are another major source of municipal solid waste in the world. According to the World Bank report, What a Waste 2.0, industries are accounted for 22% of the total municipal solid waste generated in 2018. Now, there are so many kinds of waste that industries generate depending on their sector, depending on their activity and their size. Now, some common type of waste these industries produce include chemical waste, maybe metal waste, wood waste, textile waste, and so many, depending on the company, depending on what the activity is. Now, industries can reduce their waste generation by adopting simple and effective practices, such as, the first thing they need to do is conducting a life cycle assessment to evaluate the environmental impact of their products or services. Now, what is a life cycle assessment? A life cycle assessment is a systematic process that involves collecting data on the environmental impact of a product or service through its life cycle, from production to disposal. I think I've said something like this earlier. Now, when you want to, when you want to, in production, the first phase, maybe you source for your raw material. That is the first phase, that is the first place. Or the first point of production to evaluate the environment from the production to the disposal. That's the first thing. So that will give you a knowledge of probably how to reduce whatever negative environmental impact that product is having. Now, the second thing with the businesses need to do is implementing a circular economy approach to design products or services that are durable. But these things can last. They can be repaired when they spoil. And you can also reuse these products. They're also biodegradable or recycled or biodegradable. Biodegraded. Now, it's not when you want to design a product. No, most products and services do not really put recycling into consideration in their production. You know, some things you just use them and you can't recycle them and they turn to waste. Now, some things are not meant to be used more than once. No, we should be able to reuse this product. Then when these things get bad, we should also, businesses should be designed to to implement a circular economy approach. Now, where products or services can be repaired, reused, recycled, or maybe they can be biodegraded. Now, a circular economy is an economic system that aims to eliminate waste and keep materials and resources in use for as long as possible. That means for every product, for everything I produce, I should be able to use that thing for a very durable, amount of time. I should be able to even reuse it, recycle it, or repair it. This is one of the major ways industries can manage and reduce their waste. Now, another major way they can do this is by adopting cleaner production techniques. I think at this time, most companies are already trying to do this. Some people are trying to clean up their waste before they release to the environment using through the Kyoto Protocol. Now, when you're adopting cleaner production techniques to prevent or minimize waste generation at source. Now, cleaner production is a continuous application to prevent. Cleaner production is the continuous application of preventive environmental strategies to processes, products, and services to increase efficiency and reduce risk of human and the environment. Now, when we talk about cleaner production, most companies now, yes, are trying to adopt this particular method where they generate their own waste. They also use their own waste to produce other products or get other materials. Now, in that way, there is no too much production waste. Everything is recycled, everything is transformed, everything is converted. So that way, waste reduction is maximized. Now, investing in research and innovation to develop new technologies or solutions for waste reduction. Now, research and innovation are very essential. Until you do research, you may not be able to innovate. You may not be able to say, "Oh, this is working." Like in some places, this water hyacinth that some people even throw it away, they dispose it, and sometimes they leave it there. So some companies, all these oil companies, they spend huge amount of money on this. But now you can always use it to manufacture a lot of furniture, a lot of so many products that you can do with it. Now that's as a result of research and innovation. So there are these two methods: research and innovation are essential for finding new ways of reducing waste generation and using waste as a resource. Now remember that most companies use what we call phytoremediation, where you use plants to do a lot of cleanup. When you can even convert some of the things we call waste, like this cassava waste that we dump around that will now smell everywhere. Those things can be converted. They can be used for some cleanup. The thing is, it's only research that probably can open our eyes to such things. So research and innovation are things that must be invested in. It must find new ways of reducing waste generation, or maybe new ways of using waste as a resource. Now, the next thing we need to also do, which is very important as an industry person, maybe engage with stakeholders to raise awareness and promote best practices for waste reduction. Now, who are these stakeholders? Stakeholders are any individuals or entity that have an interest or influence. That influence can be direct or indirect on the activity of an industry. They can be your employers, they can be the board of directors. So they need to be engaged to raise awareness. People need to know, about this thing. They need to know about these issues. So they can always, when stakeholders are involved in most of these activities, it drives it to the maximum. People want to get involved. So it's important you engage these stakeholders to raise awareness and promote these best practices for waste reduction. So in conclusion, effective waste reduction and management are critical for creating a sustainable future, regardless of the sector, whether it is household, business, company, industry, whatever the sector is. Education and awareness play a key role in driving sustainable waste practices. The first thing people need to be aware of, why do we need to do this? What is this problem? How did we get here? So education and awareness, they play a key role. That's the first thing people need to be aware that this waste management and reduction is something that must happen. It's something that we all need to be a part of. Whether you're a government person, or an NGO or CSO, or maybe a community, then there should be a collaboration to raise awareness about waste reduction. Then in that raising awareness, we have to provide training on proper waste management techniques. The truth is most people do not really know how best to manage their waste. Now, providing training will be like a capacity building. Capacity building, you build their capacity on how to manage their waste, and how to also create incentives for sustainable practices. Now, ultimately, by implementing these best practices across households, businesses, and industries, we can collectively move towards a circular economy where waste is minimized, resources conserved, and the environment is conserved too. Now, where the environment impact is also reduced. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your attention. I've come to the end of my presentation today, and I would love to take your questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Queenette. I was actually notifying you on the chat box, but I think you were not paying attention. But thank you so much for the wonderful section. It was quite informative, and I'm sure everyone that listened is going to say same. So our second speaker, who is supposed to take us on the second section, is he left. So I guess I was notified that he has another webinar session starting up by 8 p.m. So I don't know the possibility of him still joining back. Jonathan, is it possible for him to still join back in?
Okay. But I'm chatting him up now. I believe you will join us.
Okay, if he can join us, that would be nice because we have like, I think 15 minutes more, which is, we can barely achieve much from it, but if you join us and just give us a brief, that would be nice because we started quite late. If we have any question regarding all we've learned from Chidema's section, we can ask the questions. If you want to use the mic, you can raise your hand and ask your question. Otherwise, you can also use the chat box and ask the question. Okay, I think there is a question in the chat box. Benedicta is asking, what is the meaning of the first R?
Reduce. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Okay, thank you so much.
Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? I will leave this.
Okay,
But
he's here. Welcome, Victoria Shaka, and we are so sorry for keeping you waiting. It was not intentional. We're so sorry. So that we don't have much time on our hands, you can commence the section while I post something to guide us about the introduction. So that the mic is over to you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Can you see me? Is it clear? Hello, is it clear? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Yes, we can
clearly.
hear you.
Oh, all right. All right. So good evening, everyone. And good evening. Victory Ashaka is my name. And I'm so delighted to join you all here this evening. And I think it's been quite a long day for me. And I was hopeful that I will be starting by 6 before joining my other engagements. But then we just have to do it. So without further ado, I would just like to go straight to what we have this evening. And I would have loved to do some other things, but then there's no time any longer because I have to catch up with quite a number of things. But then, yeah, so it's about the topic. Yeah, I was here while the previous speaker was speaking, and I think those were profound also about waste to wealth, solutions to climate action, and how we can collaborate to ensure that the things that are kind of hazardous to our environment, the things that are causing societal degradation could be used to provide solutions for climate action so that we can convert our waste, and just to ensure that we convert our waste and to also make profits for the society and the necessary things that we have to do as a people for sustenance and for progress. And that's the essence of this, and I'm so excited about that. So, talking about waste to wealth solutions for climate action, this is something I'm so passionate about, and I would just like to highlight some things, and I may not be able to give so much explanation any longer because of time, but then crucial things that we just have to know as regards this topic that says waste to wealth solution for climate action. Now, as we all know that climate action or climate change, which climate action springs from, is simply talking about our environment, the things that has happened over time and things that has evolved, and how can we see our society in such a way that that has changed tides over time. And then, so we are talking about waste to wealth, solutions for climate action. So climate action meaning that there has to be some certain step-by-step approaches to ensure that the environment is safe for humans to live, to breathe, and to thrive. And talking about waste to wealth, how can we convert this waste that humans are generating to turn it into wealth, to convert it, to ensure that this waste are no longer destructive or are no longer hazardous to human health and our environment. But then we are also looking for new ways to simply use this waste to ensure that we are also generating things that are crucial for our sustenance, for our survival also. And that's the essence. So everyone, I welcome you to this webinar. And I hope that we are just going to get one or two things from this session as I embark on this transformative journey to simply explore the immense potential of just turning waste into wealth, creating a sustainable future for our planet. And it's also about creating a sustainable future for our planet. And as we dive into the economic and social benefits of at least these solutions, the policies, the regulatory framework that could actually support this implementation, the roles of the the public-private partnership, community engagement, contributions to just the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that this discussion or this engagement centers around, the SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and at least the challenges and the limitations we face, and how we can also provide the solution, ways to wealth, and solutions for climate action. So that's it. And I just think that in today's world, in our fast-paced society, where the consequences of climate change are actually becoming increasingly apparent, and at least we are just seeing it on a daily basis. Climate change, our planet's being polluted by plastic, by different substances or different things that humans use, and you're not able to maybe dispose them appropriately, not being able to recycle, not being able to reuse, not being able to simply recycle some of these things that we use, some of these products that we also use, is it's kind of alarming with these pressing issues that we see. So it is actually essential that we actually come together as a community to address the challenges at hand, from the waste management, which is often overlooked, and it actually has an immense potential as a catalyst for change. So what we overlook, we can simply use it to also act for change by simply reimagining what waste as a valuable resources can actually be. So by reimagining waste as a valuable resources rather than a burden. So we shouldn't just see it as a burden. We must start seeing ways that we can see this as valuable resources. So these are crucial things, and we can also create an harmonious cycle, let me say that actually benefits both the environment and our economy, like I just said. So how can this benefit our environment, and how can this also benefit the economy and our environment? Sorry, can you still hear me? I just want to confirm.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So great. So the first crucial thing rather that I would like to point out is to simply emphasize the concept of the circular economy when it comes to waste to wealth, the circular economy, because it actually involves like shifting from the traditional linear model of what you just take and what you make and what we dispose. So looking at it from just what we just take, what we make, and what we dispose, to a regenerative system where waste is seen as a valuable input. So we're simply talking about how can, by adopting this approach, we can actually minimize waste generation. How can we promote recycling and upcycling, and actually encourage the design of products with their end of life in mind? So this shift not only actually reduces the strain on our natural resources, but also opens up exciting opportunities for businesses, for entrepreneurs, just to create innovative waste to wealth solution. Now, in the sense that there are several things that are actually seen as pollutants in our environment, such as plastic. And then, like this year's World Environment Day, with the theme that says "Beat Plastic Pollution." Now, talking about how can we beat plastic pollution, we simply must start to look at ways to simply do what? Ways to reuse, ways to recycle, ways to upcycle, and how can we use this in some of the, in fact, some of the ways like upcycling, maybe for small businesses, for entrepreneurs. Some persons have even started looking for models how they can simply use these plastics that are kind of hazardous to the human health. They are now making use of some of those plastics to make chairs, to make several products that humans can use, that in the traditional way that humans can use. So it is simply being innovative, simply being creative with our solutions. And how can we also find these companies that will simply start reusing, start recycling some of this stuff, just like the plastics, such as nylon, paper bags, plastic bags, and such that there are so many things that humans use that are kind of hazardous. Now, like I say, even this plastic that we are addressing this year as the theme, it is simply because, in fact, sometimes plastics that are disposed, that are dumped, might take about 1,000 years to even decompose. So, and then even before then, some of those particles, some particles from the plastics could definitely, maybe a plastic that is disposed into the ocean or into the water body, you discover that plastic does not decompose. About hundreds of years, it doesn't get decomposed. Instead, you start seeing that toxins are being released into the water, and then these toxins are kind of hazardous to the life below water. These toxin, these particles are actually destructive. These particles are actually can actually affect some of these fishes in the sea. Some of these, in fact, plants. When we plant in our surroundings on the soil and such that, there are so many things that it actually affects, and that is why it is crucial that we have this conversation on how we can simply upcycle, how we can recycle, how we can reuse, using this waste to simply convert waste to wealth. So, and I believe that this shift not only reduces the strain on our natural resources, but it also opens up exciting opportunities for businesses, entrepreneurs to simply create innovative waste to wealth solution. And it is very, very crucial. So I think we should also start exploring the potential of waste to wealth technology, which is actually crucial. Rather than allowing the organic waste to simply decompose in these landfills that we see, we can simply harness its energy through processes like, there are various energy generations that I think that we need to start looking into. I think I'm just addressing the appropriate quarters. I think that is why it is very crucial that every single person needs to get involved. Every single sector needs to get involved. We need the government, we need the private sector, we need companies, we need people to simply understand this. And that is why platforms like this that gives enlightenment to people is very crucial, that every single person needs to contribute, every single person needs to just come on board. We need people who have these ideas, people who can simply convert these things. That is very important. So, and these technologies not only will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but also produce renewable energy and nutrient-rich fertilizers, because they are actually waste that could be converted into fertilizers for plants. They are waste that could be converted into power generation, even animal waste, the waste that humans use, and such that so many of them could be converted to simply generate energy. So this knowledge that people need to understand, these are things that people need to understand. These are requisite knowledge that people need to have at their fingertip to ensure that everybody comes on board, everybody gets enlightened, and then an enlightened society could be transformational, and an enlightened society could be transformational. So these technology are very crucial, and then by embracing waste to wealth solutions, we can simply or simultaneously tackle waste management issues and continue to transition to a low carbon future. Thereby, we are reducing the burning of fossil fuel, reducing the greenhouse gas emission in the environment, and simply looking at how can we use some of this waste to generate and to power our houses. How can we use this waste to power our places of work, wherever we find ourselves, instead of just using the traditional ones that have been existing that are actually hazardous to the human health and our environment, our surroundings, and the things we do. So that is why I always say is that maybe some of this waste and some of the things that has to do with climate change it's not just about our planet, but it's about us also. It's not just about the planet alone, it's about saving us. And then after looking at this waste, converting waste to power generation, looking at the technology, I think we also need to start looking at the power of collaboration that cannot be underestimated. So collaboration is very crucial when it comes to waste to wealth and looking at solutions to climate action. Collaboration is crucial and cannot be understated when it comes to those waste to wealth solutions. So we need the government, like I said, we need businesses, we need communities that must work hand in hand to simply develop comprehensive waste management strategies, because these are crucial. And this involves investing in infrastructure for waste collection, segregation, like treatment, as well as creating awareness and fostering a culture of responsible consumption and waste reduction. And then we also need to start looking at by fostering partnership, engaging all stakeholders, we can amplify this impact and simply accelerate the adoption of sustainable practices. So it is crucial that we also look into collaboration with the government, businesses, private sector to simply look for ways we can simply convert it. Because if the common man keeps on talking about waste to wealth, there is a limit to what we can simply achieve. Yes, we are talking about these things, but then there are people who are in the society who are definitely needed to simply implement some of these things that we've discussed. The previous speaker has discussed some of these practices that we can also see now on several webinars, several Twitter spaces, several engagement. People keep on talking about some of these things, but then we simply need people. We need that collaboration with the government, the business owners, like people who are versatile to ensure this. And that is why every single person has a role to play by raising awareness or by simply fostering new policies to simply aid our understanding, to simply aid action, because talking without action simply yields no fruit. And that is why this is important. And I believe that another aspect we should start looking towards is the aspect that demands our attention, which is simply the importance of education and awareness. These cannot be overemphasized. We must empower individuals with knowledge and skills
Can you all hear me? Because I can't hear him.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes.
Sorry,
Yes, we can hear you.
is it the
We
network or
can hear
something?
you.
Is it the network or something? I should just continue.
Yes, I believe it was the network.
All
No,
right,
we can
all
hear
right.
you.
All right, these are very necessary. And then when we talk about this economic and social benefits, we can start looking towards this job creation. How can waste simply lead to wealth? And then talking about the economic and social benefits, we must look at it in the light that yes, waste to wealth can simply generate what's job. It can simply lead to job creation, whereby waste to wealth solution simply offers us vast opportunities for job creation across various sectors such as recycling, waste management, renewable energy, and sustainable product manufacturing. And these emerging industries can also, I think, these energies, this renewable energy can also can also be used, such as this sustainable product manufacturing. So, meaning that when it comes to job creation, waste to wealth solution offers vast opportunities for job creation across various sectors, such as recycling. We need to start looking at how we can recycle some of this waste that we have. How can we have this waste management, renewable energy, sustainable product manufacturing? These emerging industries stimulate local economics, fostering entrepreneurship and driving innovation. Because when this is being realized, we will start having more jobs, because there are people who need jobs. And when we start implementing some of these solutions, I think people will definitely have, some persons can also have something to do to also engage in these practices that is contributing to our environment, contributing to the economy, and contributing to the livelihood of some persons. And these are reasons that I am given from what we've heard so far. And these are also reasons why we should simply implement some of these practices. Another one has to do with the poverty reduction. So when we harness the potential of waste, we can also empower marginalized communities by providing them with income-generating activities. Waste management initiatives also offer a lifetime or a lifeline of individuals living in poverty, contributing to their economic and well-being and social inclusion. Meaning that through this, some persons who are actually living in poverty, when they also come on board, or when they are also engaged in, maybe it could be as little as maybe getting this waste, picking this waste and turning them in, and then getting incentives for some of these things, which are actually ideal. When people get incentives for maybe turning in waste that could also be recycled, that could also be used, I think it is also contributing to the reduction of poverty. So when we talk about on the aspect that does with policies and regulatory framework, policies in the sense that the governments, the private sector that must be engaged in this waste wealth management, these policies that are crucial, we can start looking towards the supportive legislation. Now, the governments around the world are actually recognizing the importance of waste management and sustainable practices. So they are also enacting policies and regulations that incentivize this waste reduction and recycling. So I think government and these legislatures around the world should start looking at ways to also enact these policies and force it in our immediate communities. Like in this part of the world, I think it is very crucial that we start understanding this, and the right person should start taking action. And then how we can simply recycle, develop towards this development of waste to wealth initiatives. So these frameworks actually create an enabling environment, encouraging businesses and individuals to adopt sustainable practices. So we can talk about the legislation when it comes to the aspect of policies and regulatory framework. We can also talk about extended producer responsibility. Now, this means that implementing these policies like extended producer responsibility. And let me talk about that. So when you talk about this implementing policies like this extended producer responsibility, it encourages manufacturers to take responsibility for their products throughout their life cycle. So this fosters innovation in waste reduction, recycling, and resource recovery. And this is saying the same thing, that we need those persons to come on board to implement some of these practices that are quite necessary. So, I think on the aspect, I've spoken on the aspect of the economic and social benefit. I also highlighted talking about economic and social benefits, talking about policies and regulatory framework, also talking about the roles of public-private partnership and community engagement. Now, public-private partnership and community engagement is also crucial, meaning that we are looking towards collaboration for impact, because every single person needs to also come on board to ensure that waste is being converted to wealth if it must be scalable, if it must succeed. So we talk about the public and private partnership that brings together the expertise, resources, and innovation of both sectors by amplifying the impact of waste to wealth solutions. So the government, businesses, communities working hand in hand are very important also. And I think they go actually go side by side when we talk about the government, talking about businesses, talking about communities working hand in hand to create solutions, these scalable and sustainable models that drive systemic change. So collaboration for impact is crucial. And to make sure that this works and this is scalable, we also have to look towards community engagement. By engaging people in waste management initiative, it enhances awareness, education. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Can
All
you?
right. Okay. So I just want to, a call came in, so I wanted to confirm. So talking about engaging this community engagement, it is very important by engaging communities in waste management initiative, which enhances awareness, community engagement, whereby we see it happening right now, but I think it could be increased. The tempo could be increased, and the momentum at which we do this is very necessary. Because I think it was about last week whereby somebody was talking about having a regulation whereby I think there is a body that should look into. There's a body that needs to look into this climate activism, look into this waste management, look into this environmental concerns and such as that. So I said, okay, I thought about it and I said, okay, I think this is quite crucial. This is important. But then before things like that begin to unravel, I believe something that every small action of impact we make multiplies if we all do it. So every small action of impact we make multiplies if we all do it, meaning that if we have an initiative, if we have these NGOs who are willing to also keep this conversation going, who are willing to also go out there to advocate, we have those who are into picking plastics, those who are into picking maybe nylons, plastics, and such as that, and other forms of waste in the society. I think it is also encourageable that it's also something to be encouraged in the sense that it's a small action of impact. Yes, it's like a ripple effect whereby maybe when you go to a water body and then you just try to pick up a stone and cast the stone into the water body, you see the way it has a ripple effect. So it is just like causing a ripple effect. A ripple effect whenever you drop that thing, or whenever you do something crucial, or whenever you engage in that community and have that community engagement, it has a ripple effect that actually keeps on spreading. The awareness is there and people are coming on board. People are getting to know the essence of this thing. And that is why community engagement is very crucial in the form of the private, public partnership and community engagement. Very, very important. So another one that we could also look towards, and I believe it has to be based on the explanation of how waste to wealth solution contribute to the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, because I think that is one of the major things that we are looking at in this conversation and this whole program as a whole, how waste to wealth solutions also contribute to Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which climate action is the SDGs 13. And then looking at the SDGs, how we can also look towards this climate action. First of all, I believe the SDGs 13, which is climate action, we must start looking at waste to wealth solutions. And I believe waste to wealth solutions play a crucial role in mitigating climate change, meaning that by reducing waste generation, promoting recycling, and generating renewable energy from organic waste, we significantly cut greenhouse gas emission, contributing to a more sustainable and resilient planet. So waste to wealth, it plays a crucial role in mitigating climate change by reducing waste generation, promoting recycling, and generating renewable energy. Renewable energy like solar, like inverters that we are having right now, and then other clean energy powered by solar that we should start looking towards, because I think this generator that people are using, it's actually emitting carbon in the atmosphere. And then how can humans breathe? And that is another thing. And I think just to deviate a bit, to bring in the aspect that has to do with tree planting, which is very important. We need tree planting for good breathing. Like I say, we need tree planting for good breathing, because whilst we are having this carbon emission in the atmosphere, these trees are actually there to also sequester this carbon in the atmosphere and give humans oxygen to breathe. So that is on that aspect. So we should also look towards the sustainable and renewable energy that can be powered by some of this waste, various waste, animal waste, human waste, waste that has to do with the packaging and such as that has been highlighted even by the previous speaker. And then there are some of them that we also know. So these are ways that we could also look into. Another one we could also look into when it comes to how waste to wealth solution contributes to the SDGs. I was talking about the climate action. Now talking about the sustainable cities and communities. Now we need efficient waste management systems that will enhance the livability of cities by simply reducing pollution, improving sanitation, and preserving natural resources. And waste to wealth solutions foster circular economies, creating vibrant and sustainable communities. And this is also important. Another one we could also look towards is the decent work and economic growth. Decent work and economic growth that is also on the SDGs. Now, waste management industries actually provide meaningful employment opportunities, supporting economic growth while ensuring decent conditions. It ensures decent conditions by investing in these sectors that we can promote sustainable livelihood and inclusive economic development. So on the aspect of the SDGs, how waste to wealth simply provide solutions, we can talk about the climate action, we can talk about sustainable cities and communities, we can talk about decent work and economic growth, we can talk about many more of that. So I think these three are crucial because when we start converting waste to wealth, when we start providing solution with these are areas that will definitely be impacted, and then in turn impacts our own livelihood also, and that is actually necessary. On the aspect of the waste to wealth also, which is like the final one that I was saying or highlighting, I would like to highlight the overview or some of the challenges or limitations, some of these challenges or limitations that we can encounter, but then can also be overcome or could be, we could also provide solutions to some of these things. Some of the challenges I think that we could encounter could be maybe technological and infrastructural challenges. And this is why it is very necessary that the government is involved, private sector is involved to put in the right infrastructure, the right technologies that will drive these conversations, that will drive this action to ensure that it is actually beneficial for humans to keep on living, thriving in the society. So implementing waste to wealth solution often requires these advanced technologies, infrastructure, because lack of access to appropriate systems and funding can also hinder their adoption, especially in developing regions like this part of the world. So another one could just be this behavioral and cultural barriers that we could encounter. And, changing societal behaviors and mindset towards waste management requires this extensive awareness campaign and education. And this is why education is very important. This is why enlightenment is very important. That every single person needs to come on board. I think every single person needs to keep on doing it because it is never enough. Education is never enough. It is very necessary for every single person. And we must do what? Overcome these ingrained habits and cultural norms that poses challenges to the widespread adoption of this waste to wealth solution. So education is very important to break the barrier of these behavioral and cultural barriers. So, and the final one, I just think maybe, the aspect that has to do with financial viability, because while waste to wealth solution hold great promises, their this financial viability can be a concern. Balancing the cost of this implementation, operational expenses, and revenue generation actually requires a lot. But I think that these are necessary ways or necessary things that we could actually look towards to ensure that there are economic opportunities of waste to wealth that are implemented in the society. And these are very important. So just to wrap off this, because of the short time that is left, I would say this, that waste to wealth solution can offer us a remarkable opportunity to simply combat climate change while unlocking economic prosperity by embracing these principles of the circular economy, harnessing waste to energy technologies, this fostering this collaboration, community engagement that a lot of people are actually getting engaged in. And then we can also do more. I believe we can do more. And we can also do more to also promote our educational system, the education of people, like enlightening people and recognizing the economic potential. By simply recognizing this economic potential, we can transform waste from a problem into a catalyst for positive change in our society. And this is why it is very important that this conversation is holding. And I believe that, as I urge everyone of us, like we should start looking at ways that we can start doing the right practices that are beneficial for us. We must harness the power within us to simply imagine ways as a valuable resources to create sustainable and innovative solutions and to simply pave the way towards a brighter and greener future. So it's all about transforming waste to wealth. It's all about looking at the solutions that we can see, how we can preserve our environment, how we can beat plastic pollution, how we can have sustainable practices or eco-friendly practices that every single person needs to get engaged with, because I believe this is a marathon and not just a sprint, and it is through collaboration, through the right practices, we can definitely make a change. And that is why information is important. That is why enlightenment is important towards the actualization of the sustainable development goals of waste to wealth and the solution to climate action for us to keep on living and breathing, because I believe that nature exists, that we may exist along with it. The environment is there. We are to protect our environments. We are to preserve it. We are to keep it and keep our environments clean. And then also using this waste, converting it to wealth, converting it to beneficial things that people can use on a daily basis. Entrepreneurs, businesses, and such that there are creative ideas that we should start implementing, that we can also start seeing in our various surroundings. How can we convert this waste? Maybe it could be furniture, using them for furniture, using them for converting them, recycling them, reusing them, upcycling, which is also common right now. So many people are using some of these waste products to create flowers. So many are using them to beautify the environment, surroundings, so that they just don't just pollute our environment, because it is alarming, the rate of pollution that we're experiencing right now. It is quite alarming, and then it is like a catastrophe waiting to happen. And I believe that through collaboration, through the right practices, we can definitely make a change to ensure that the things that we do are actually beneficial for our environment. So I think I'd like to draw the line here or close the curtain here, and also be open to questions or contribution from any other person that would like to share one or two things, because I think this is a necessary conversation that every single person needs to get engaged with. And as we've discussed so far, the economic benefits, how we can convert waste to wealth, the necessary things that has to be done, and the benefits of all these things, I think through this, we should be hopeful, or we are hopeful that it is possible to convert waste to wealth. And then it causes about a tremendous growth to the economy, and the economy at large, and that is very crucial. So thank you so much, and that is it for now.
Okay, thank you so much, Victory Ashaka, for that wonderful section. I'm sure each and every one of us were able to grasp a lot from everything you've said. And please, if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. If you don't want to ask directly, you can send your question to the chat box, and we'll attempt it. We have limited time because I know he has another section to attend, so we can do that quickly. And also, I don't know the possibility of you dropping your LinkedIn profile link on the chat box so that anyone that wants to connect with you, ask further questions, can do that.
All right. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be a question too. You can, maybe if you have a suggestion, if you have a comment to make, I think that's also crucial. Comments, questions, and anything. Yeah.
Okay, I want to appreciate Victoria Shaka for coming on board today. Under short notice, and we had to even reschedule the time. I appreciate you for showing up today. I believe that's all. Would have asked more questions, probably discussed more, but the time is limited. Maybe I will have to drop my question, or probably my contribution later on with you. I'll have to discuss with you later. I hope that will be okay.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, without wasting much of our time, so that we would continue with our activities for the evening. It's important that we put what we've discussed practice, because I think the whole essence of webinars, discussion, sharing ideas, and conversations around climate action is to ensure that we achieve the goal within the time frame of 2030, and to enhance collaborations too. We can reach out to persons we know that can foster these actions to take place, reach out to NGOs, organizations, and individuals as well. So while we move ahead with our individual activities and schedules, let's bear it in mind as advocates that it is on our hands to ensure that within our remote communities, within our a minimal space and environment, we ensure that each and everyone around us is informed to some extent about climate action, so that no one is left behind. With that, I would like to end the webinar section, and this does not have to be the end. We are at liberty to make provisions for further discussions and further discussions, because until the goal is achieved, I think the actions do not have to stop. So thank you everyone that joined in. Thank you for actively participating. Thank you to our speakers for the knowledge you've shared. And that will be all for tonight. So good night, everyone. And I'm hoping that we all have a good night rest.